Um, well, I guess the last like kind of musical projects that I was involved with were more about trying to change the way air moves, and to think about composition in terms of air forms and sensations of air and time, as a way to bypass all of the aesthetic problems with exposing people to audio, which, like photography, everyone kind of has such a sense of expertise and self-optimization based on their consumer choices that it's a pretty challenging, especially in like a short. I guess where this really comes from is like doing sound installations in museums where you have someone for a couple minutes. You're not going to change the way they listen. You're not going to change the way they listen in a couple minutes. And even if you try to make your piece so it kind of guides people into a particular type of listening space, I started to come to the awareness for myself that it's an unfair ask, and that it just doesn't really work. And I want to do things that have some positive or questioning, something that expands a sense of possibility for people who encounter it, that's difficult to reject out of hand or just misconstrue out of hand. So I was working on those kinds of pieces, and as part of that research was developing these like airflow sensors to map a park, and make changes to the flow in that park. And I guess as part of just like thinking and focusing more on the sensations of the air around me as a compositional material, I started to have this feeling like, it's dumb to say, but just, that like I'm more like a fish and I'm consuming more air than I'm eating anything. And I'm changing in relationship to what the air is around me and how it feels and what's in it. And even like the word air is totally weird, because it's like air, what we really mean is like this, in a city, like in like Los Angeles, what we mean when we say air is like a completely heterogeneous mix of all kinds of shit, like tiny shards of metal and glass and skin and, everything. And of course, it's been interesting so these pieces started kind of in like 2011. And of course, with coronavirus, this has all become now like like I remember seeing these visualizations, these flow visualizations in the supermarket and stuff. Just like basically like ray tracing or vector tracing, some like simple flow model. And I think it was the first time in my life that like the general population was thinking about air as like the idea that if you're in a room with other people, you're literally breathing in and out of the other person's body, and just how crazy that is. Or like if you're at a concert, just that everyone is literally like breathing in and out each other's sweat. Not in a poetic way, in like an entirely actual way. And just how freaked out and how still people like want to reject the interconnectedness of everyone's bodies and physical materials and construction sites and just like there is. I think the air is interesting because it's just, if you're a human being, it's just the thing that we're all sharing. It is like the primary commons. And of course, that's kind of also why the book I wrote about audio kind of centers audio as air, as ultimately gets kind of boiling down to like a social architecture that is made of air. And I also mean that like totally literally. I think people think often it's like a poetic thing, but it is, but it's also just like the actuality of it. It's like compression waves in air. If we could see it, if we could see it, it would sound like a dumb thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
If we could see sound, saying that it's made of air, it would be a dumb thing to say because it would be so incredibly obvious.